Let's look at the side kick series. Side kicks is a series of exercises, a series of movements in Pilates where you lie on your side, and they're excellent for core stability or spinal stability, so being able to keep your spine from moving. It's great for hip strength, glute strength, hip mobility as well. So there's a lot of good stuff going on, and you can even bring some shoulder stability into it. There are a lot of different variations of the side kicks in terms of positioning that I want to go through today, so that if you see an exercise done differently than you're used to, then you sort of understand a little bit better why somebody might teach it with this different sort of setup. I strongly believe that nothing is right or wrong, but exercises are just done differently for a particular reason. And if we really look deep into why we do an exercise that way, we usually find a reason. And there are so many different people and bodies out there that having the variety is excellent, because we can find the perfect position for every single body and person, right? So as you watch this, as you try them out, find the one that you prefer for whichever reason. And then maybe you'll get some extra information on what that does in your body. Okay, so I'm going to start with the version that I kind of sort of is my go-to exercise or a variation to teach of the side kicks, which I start in what I call side balance. So basically just lie straight on your side. In a completely straight line, you send your heels away from you and you send the top of the head in the other direction. Okay? Now, I want you to try to get a pocket of air under your side waist. Okay? If your bottom side waist is touching the floor, then your spine actually is in a tiny little bit of a curve here, side bend. Okay? So by lifting the bottom side waist up, now my spine is actually parallel to the floor. Okay, so the two sides, right and left side of my body, are now the same, more balanced. My top hand can be on the floor. You can also rest it on top of the body. You can even bring it behind your head, okay, whichever you can do. Now we're going to lift the top leg just a few inches, just so that it's as high as your hip. And then start to swing the leg a little bit forward and swing it a little bit back. You're going to bring it a little bit forward and a little bit back. Traditionally, we bring the foot forward when it's with a flexed foot, and we bring the leg back with a pointed foot. Forward as you flex, back as you point. Inhale forward, and exhale back. One more time, inhale forward, and exhale back. Good. My head here was lifted slightly, just a tiny little bit. It's totally fine to rest the head down. It's also okay to make a little pillow with your arm to rest your head, or even use an actual pillow under your head. So that's all good, all fine. See that your neck is comfortable. Now, if you have tried this exercise along with me right now, then you notice that this is pretty hard, okay? It's pretty hard to not like, woo, fall over basically as you swing the leg back and forth. Now, if you bring your legs forward, let's say 30 to 45 degrees in front of your hips, then it gets a little bit easier, because now I have what we call a wider base of support, right? I'm not in a straight line anymore, but I'm sort of in, if you picture the space that I'm taking up, it's more like a big rectangle. I hope that makes sense. I still can try and keep the pocket of air, and now if I lift the leg and swing it back and forth, I have the feeling that I can move my leg bigger, I can make a bigger movement, can swing it further forward and back. I don't have to work quite so hard in my core to stabilize my spine, okay? So this would be a good choice if you want to work more on hip mobility, and maybe hip strength, because holding the leg up in the air will get tired after a while. And maybe you don't want to focus so much on your core, or your core is a little bit weak and you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself. Okay, now you can bring your knees even into a 90-90 position, where the knees are bent, knees are in front of the hips, ankles are in line with your knees. And now again, you lift the leg, and now you can swing the knee forward and swing the knee back, and swing it forward and swing it back. The big difference with this variation is now your knees are bent, which means it takes the tension out of the thighs and actually out of the hamstrings, not so much out of the thighs. And if you have tight hamstrings, this will be much easier for you. It will be easier for you to stabilize your spine. You'll be more successful at stabilizing your spine. I never want to say it's easier because it's not really easier. It just challenges a different part of you. It's still good challenging. So, okay, so that's a nice variation. Then you can bring your upper body up higher. That always makes it harder. So you can support yourself on your elbow. Make sure that your elbow is underneath your shoulder. Make sure that your shoulder is in, your chest is nice and wide. You can keep your other hand down on the floor. And you can again be in a straight line, forward and back. You can also bring the top hand behind your head. I like this because it reminds me to push my head back into my hand. Keep my head in a good place. Flex forward and point back. You could do all of this with your legs forward in the 45 degrees. So I'm now combining variations. Okay. And now I've also seen to just press the elbow into the floor, support your head behind both of your hands, lift your side waist up, and then kick forward and back. Now, if you listened up earlier, you heard me talk about base of support. And now I really only have this tiny little part of me touching the floor, and then there's just the hip sort of and the bottom leg that's touching the floor, but everything else is lifted. So this is quite challenging, even for my upper body, to keep the balance. So it's a nice advanced variation here. And were a few of the variations you can do for side kicks. Obviously, there are other leg variations of the moving leg. We're not going to deal with those today. That's time for another video sometime. Let me know if you're interested in that. And if you need any further clarifications about any of this, shoot me an email, let me know. Be happy to help you out and explain a little bit more about that. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.